Today we're going to focus on what planning and teaching mathematics looks like in today's classroom, particularly in classrooms that use a purchased curriculum rather than teacher-created materials. This is an important shift to understand early in your teaching career, because the expectations placed on teachers today are different from what they were even a decade ago. In the past, teachers were often expected to unpack standards, write units, design lessons, and create materials largely on their own. Today, most schools adopt a mathematics curriculum that has already been evaluated for alignment to standards. These curricula are often referred to as high-quality instructional materials, or HQIM. That does not mean the teacher's role is smaller. It means the teacher's role is different. The work shifts from creating everything to understanding, selecting, sequencing, and teaching materials well. Two major ideas guide our work in this module. One is high-quality instructional materials. The other is the mathematical teaching practices, which describe what effective math teaching looks like during instruction. A critical idea to hold on to is that strong materials and strong teaching practices work together. Even the best curriculum cannot teach students on its own. It is the teacher's planning, instructional decisions, and responses to student thinking that determine whether students experience meaningful learning. Let's begin by clarifying what high-quality instructional materials are and what they are not. HQIM are curricula that have been reviewed by external organizations and shown to be well aligned to standards, coherent in structure, and supportive of student reasoning. They typically reflect major shifts in mathematics standards, including a focus on fewer concepts at greater depth, an emphasis on conceptual understanding alongside procedural fluency, and intentional opportunities for reasoning, problem-solving, and discourse. What HQIM are not is a script to follow without thinking. They are also not a guarantee that learning will automatically happen. Teachers still need to interpret the materials, understand the learning goals, anticipate student thinking, and make instructional choices that support access and equity. For new teachers especially, it's helpful to distinguish between fidelity and integrity. Fidelity means staying true to the learning goals and progression of the curriculum. Integrity means preserving the mathematical thinking and cognitive demand of the tasks. You can adjust supports, pacing, and structures while still maintaining both. This is where the Understanding by Design framework, or UBD, becomes especially useful. UBD is a backwards design approach that starts with learning goals, identifies evidence of understanding, and then plans learning experiences. Many modern curricula are already built using backwards design principles. That means your planning work does not start from scratch. Instead, planning involves studying the materials to understand the intended learning and preparing to teach in ways that help students reach those goals. When aligning HQIM to UBD, you can think of the curriculum as a professional draft of a unit plan. In Stage 1, desired results appear in unit overviews, standards alignment, and lesson objectives. In Stage 2, evidence shows up in formative assessments, exit tickets, performance tasks, and student explanations. In Stage 3, learning experiences are visible in the lesson sequence, task design, representations, and discussion routines. Seeing this alignment helps new teachers understand that the curriculum is structured intentionally, and that planning is about understanding and using that structure well. At this point, it's helpful to talk about what planning with HQIM actually looks like in practice, especially for new teachers. A simple, repeatable planning routine can make this work much more manageable. Before teaching a lesson, start by reading the unit overview so you understand the big mathematical goals. Then look closely at the lesson goal and ask what students should understand by the end of the lesson, not just what they should complete. Next, study the main task and anticipate what strategies students might use, including at least one correct strategy and one likely misconception. Finally, identify where and how you will check for understanding during the lesson. This kind of planning focuses your attention on learning rather than on materials alone. Now let's talk about coherence, because coherence connects materials, planning, and student learning. A coherent lesson is one where ideas are connected and build toward a clear mathematical point. Coherence is not simply staying on the same topic. It means that each activity serves a purpose and helps students move toward deeper understanding of the central idea. Coherence also connects directly to theory. Bruner's spiral curriculum emphasizes revisiting important ideas over time with increasing sophistication. Many HQM reflect this by introducing ideas informally, revisiting them across lessons, and gradually increasing abstraction. Developmentally, this matters because students rarely fully understand a concept the first time they encounter it. Now let's shift to the mathematical teaching practices. These practices describe how teachers enact instruction, not just how lessons are planned. They focus on student thinking, reasoning, and engagement. One key practice is establishing goals that focus learning. In practice, this means understanding the mathematical point of the lesson and returning to it throughout instruction. New teachers sometimes focus heavily on procedures, but this practice asks us to focus on meaning. Students should be able to explain what they learned and why it works, not just how to follow steps. Another major practice is implementing tasks that promote reasoning and problem solving. HQM often include tasks designed to elicit multiple strategies. For new teachers, this can feel uncomfortable because students' strategies may differ from what you expected. From a constructivist perspective, this variability is not a problem. It is a resource. Students build understanding by actively engaging with ideas, and the teacher's role is to use student thinking as the pathway to the learning goal. Using and connecting representations is another core practice, especially in early childhood and elementary mathematics. High-quality curricula intentionally move between concrete models, visual representations, and symbolic notation. The teaching practice is not simply showing representations, but helping students make connections between them. This supports number sense and helps students see structure rather than isolated procedures. Facilitating meaningful mathematical discourse is also essential. Many HQIM include suggested discussion questions and routines. These are not optional extras. Discussion is where students articulate reasoning, compare strategies, and refine understanding. This aligns with Vygotsky's emphasis on social interaction as a driver of cognitive development. Teachers support discourse by selecting which strategies to share, sequencing them intentionally, and asking questions that push thinking without telling students what to do. Monitoring student work is another practice that new teachers need explicit guidance on. Monitoring does not mean correcting mistakes or giving hints to speed students along. It means listening carefully to student thinking, noting strategies and misconceptions, and deciding which ideas to bring into whole class discussion. A helpful framework here is to monitor, select, sequence, and connect. You monitor by listening. You select a few strategies to highlight. You sequence them from more accessible to more sophisticated. And you connect them back to the lesson goal. Let's also talk about pacing, because this is a common source of anxiety for new teachers. Not every lesson will fit neatly into the allotted time. When time is tight, it's important to protect the core of the lesson. The main task and the discussion are where the most learning happens. Warm-ups can often be shortened, and practice can sometimes be extended to another day. The closing is especially important because it's where coherence becomes visible. If you must choose, do not skip the meaning-making portion of the lesson. Another important area is supporting multilingual learners and students with disabilities. Many HQIM include built-in supports, but teachers still need to plan intentionally. Helpful supports include previewing vocabulary, reducing language load without reducing mathematical demand, using visuals and gestures, providing sentence stems for explanations, and structuring partner talk. These supports increase access while preserving the integrity of the mathematics. We also need to talk about productive struggle. Productive struggle means students are challenged and supported at the same time. It does not mean leaving students stuck without guidance. From a theoretical perspective, this aligns with Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. In practice, productive struggle might look like asking students to represent a situation visually, encouraging them to try a strategy, or asking a question that helps them reflect on their approach rather than giving an answer. Now let's turn to examining HQAM as a professional skill. Examining materials means looking beyond surface features and analyzing design. When you examine a unit, ask, what is the central mathematical idea? How do lessons build toward it? What representations are used, and how do they evolve? How does the curriculum support assessment and differentiation? What guidance is provided for teacher moves? Two curricula you may encounter are illustrative mathematics and Engage NY. Both are considered high quality, but they make different design choices. When comparing them, look at how each introduces the unit's big idea, how lessons are structured, how discourse is supported, and how assessment and differentiation are embedded. The goal is not to choose a winner, but to build your ability to analyze curriculum thoughtfully. Finally, let's return to the role of professional reflection. As you read and discuss, notice what stands out and what you are wrestling with. Wrestling with ideas often signals growth. Teaching mathematics well involves ongoing reflection, adjustment, and learning. High-quality instruction emerges from the interaction of strong materials, coherent planning, and effective teaching practices. Theory helps us understand why these practices work. HQIM provides structure and alignment. Teaching practices bring the mathematics to life. For new teachers, learning to use HQIM thoughtfully is not about giving up creativity. It is about using well-designed tools to create coherent, meaningful, and equitable learning experiences for students.